Hi everyone. Yeah, it has definitely been a while since I made one of these videos, but someone told me Jordan jumped the shark even by his own standards, so it's time to once again ask the question, why do people laugh at spirit science?
Hey everybody.
Hi Jordan.
Today I have a very interesting video for you.
I doubt that.
Today I want to talk about flat Earth.
Oh, you jumped that shark. Well, it's a good thing I brought my popcorn.
Now, this is something that I was very amazed and interested to see how much increase in comments there were actually of people claiming on spirit science. So, like, you know, we put out a video and then everyone's like, no, the Earth is flat, the Earth is flat, the Earth is flat. And there's so many of them.
Wait. Are you telling me that a significant portion of your followers are stupid? Well, honk my frequency and call me a space Jew. I am shocked.
So what happened was, went to arrhythmia, took some plant medicine, ayahuasca, and on the second night, I was just filled. Just without asking, I didn't really probe into this question with my mind. I just sort of received it. I just kept seeing images of flat Earth. I saw the world as a flat disc, and I was just like blown away by like, wow, that's so interesting.
No, what's interesting is that flatties are so stupid that you need psychedelic drugs to reach their level.
How does this work, was my question.
It doesn't.
And at the end of the experience, I was kind of left with this understanding.
Brace yourselves.
So this is a video I'm going to actually explain to you using a software called After Effects, which is actually one of the primary softwares that I use to make spirit science.
Oh, please, let the self-ponage begin.
But After Effects is a very unique program because it allows you to take 2D objects. It's not really a 3D program, but it allows you to take 2D objects and put them into 3D and simulate 3D, but it's still two-dimensional. So let me give you an example of what this means.
Just wait for it. Let's see if he figures it out.
Here's an image of the Earth, right? And I just take this as like a texture map, and I apply this thing called CC sphere. It's an image or an effect that you apply to the flat image that allows it to transform into a ball. It like maps it over a ball, and you can actually like watch how you can use the rotation. You can play with the settings here. You can rotate it. And so this is how I'm explaining flat Earth. What if it's both? What if the Earth is round and flat at the same time?
No. But I do have to give you credit here, because you phrased it as a question instead of asserting that...
It is. The Earth is round and flat at the same time. How would you look at the Earth in a way that you can see everything on it at the same time?
You can't, not without distorting it. You have to project it onto a flat 2D surface, kind of like...
If we look at the Earth from a different dimension where you can see the entire surface of the planet at the same time, this is the model that works the best.
Yeah, like that. That's a projection. You are mapping points on a curved surface onto a flat surface. And when you do this, the image gets distorted. That's why distances on a map of a flat Earth deviate more and more from the real Earth the further south you go. And that's actually one of the ways we know the Earth isn't flat.
Here's a flat Earth, pretend it's got a ring of Antarctica around it, that's all good. Let's just imagine for a moment that this is a way that we can observe different dimensions, higher and lower than us.
Oh, goody. Maybe Jordan will actually explain what he means by dimension this time.
Here's the universe as a thing. Let's just rotate this one around because it could look cooler, I think. There you go. That's pretty cool. That's nifty.
Whoa. That's like the universe, man.
And let's just bring it higher for a moment. Right. This ring, infinitely large.
Morons are easily amused. I wonder what would happen if someone gave Jordan a piece of paper that had turnover written on both sides.
We're observing this higher and lower dimension.
No, those are simply two parallel circles in the same three-dimensional space. If we let the xy plane be parallel with the circles and the z-axis be perpendicular to that, the circles occupy the same x and y coordinates but are separated along the z-axis. They are not different dimensions, nor do they occupy different dimensions. They are simply shapes that occupy different locations in a three-dimensional space.
Like in a round Earth sort of paradigm, this would be encompassed around the Earth. For a round Earth, you'd probably have to go like this.
Okay, but how is the Earth both round and flat? Because they're different models and it's trivially easy to test which one of these, if either, is consistent with observation. Here are cross-sections of both your models. Notice a very important difference. In the flat one, an observer on Earth can see the entire sky. In the round one, more than half the sky is obscured by the Earth. There's also no horizon in the flat one. Assuming no intervening terrain, there's no limit to how far an observer can see. Not so in the round one. Now, which of these matches what we observe? Consider these questions. Are all constellations visible from every point on Earth? Is the sun always visible from every point on Earth? Can we see arbitrarily far along the surface of the Earth? Since I'm sure we can all agree that the answer to all three questions is no, we can already rule out the flat model. This isn't a case of it depends on how you look at it. The Earth simply isn't flat.
And then you'd have to imagine that it's not just a fixed sphere. You can kind of get an idea of like how all-encompassing the field is.
Wow, congratulations. You found yet another way to falsify your flat Earth model, because it puts all celestial bodies in the same plane. And that's clearly not what we observe. So how the hell is the Earth both flat and round?
If you were on a round Earth, and this is why it's valuable to just use the flat Earth model, just to describe this one thing. If you're on a round paradigm, the round Earth paradigm, and you point up, that up is different for everybody.
Yes.
But when we consider the flat one, up is the same for everybody. And this is sort of how it was sort of explained to me on the plant medicine, was that, you know, when you look at it from this model, you can have a very uniform up and down, and you can use it to explain higher and lower levels.
I see you're unfamiliar with spherical coordinates, because in spherical coordinates, higher would simply mean higher altitude, further away from the center. Now, on the other hand, if you mean higher in some sort of spiritual sense or a drug-related sense, which is probably more likely in your case, then this is just a metaphor, so it has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
You know, another dimension down here.
Jordan, that's still not a dimension. The dimensions of space are simply the directions in which bodies can move or extend. The ceiling and the floor are not different dimensions.
The reason that I'm making all this, I just want to express, I really hope that I'm explaining this in a way that doesn't make me sound too crazy.
No, I wouldn't say it sounds crazy. It sounds stupid.
Because I'm really just trying to illustrate this idea that I feel is important for us to dissolve the separation between different ideologies.
Jordan, you are completely missing the point. These are not ideologies. We're talking about a matter of empirical fact. The Earth is round. That is an empirical fact. It doesn't matter how you look at it, what you believe, or what is consistent with a set of values. It's simply a fact.
Like, it doesn't really matter if the Earth is round or flat. There are challenges that we are facing here now on this planet, and we all have to deal with those challenges, which involve really the way that we treat and respect and honor and recognize each other in our lives.
Jordan, if you want to plot a course for an airplane with a limited amount of fuel, it helps if your map has the correct distances and actually gives you the shortest path to your destination. For example, on a flat Earth map, if you want to go from LA to Sydney, you go northwest, not southwest. The course plotted using the flat Earth map will require much more fuel and take a lot longer. It's a waste of time and money and has much greater environmental impact. And if you're a big, evil, greedy airline, it should definitely concern you a lot that your competition might not waste their customers' time and charge them more because they actually use the correct map, which you don't. And also, what if time is a critical issue? Maybe a doctor is flying somewhere to perform a life-saving medical procedure. Yes, Jordan, when you navigate, it really does matter what shape the Earth has. When you predict the weather, we're talking about large-scale weather patterns moving over large distances. And yes, it matters what those distances are if you want to have any chance of getting the prognosis right. If we're talking about extreme weather like hurricanes, getting the prognosis completely wrong can actually cost lives. So yes, again, it matters what shape the Earth has. If you want to put satellites in orbit, perhaps for use in communication or navigation systems that we actually rely on, it matters what shape the Earth has, not to mention if it's covered by a firmament or not. The fact that it doesn't matter to how we treat each other doesn't mean that it doesn't matter, period.
So instead of saying, it's not that, it's this, or that's stupid because I'm right, instead of that paradigm, which is very dualistic in nature, let's ask the question, how can it be both? How can we look at and understand someone else's point of view and look at our point of view and see that maybe there's some validity to both of them?
None of this is in dispute, Jordan. I'm not saying it's stupid because I disagree with it, or it's stupid because I'm right. It's stupid because it's trivially easy to prove that it's false.
If you're existing in this higher paradigm, let's say this, let's call it the kingdom of heaven. Let's call it the higher dimension above ours where all the angelic beings are.
What?
Let's just go with that as a model. Do you think that from that dimension that they could look at the earth, you know, like they could look down to the earth the similar way that we look at an anthill, you know, like, or we can look at a little micro ecosystem of biological bacteria in the world or whatever, and we can observe it without really interacting or interfering with it because it's, you know, it's such a different reality. Imagine for a moment that you existed beyond time, that time was irrelevant, you lived forever, and you could move backwards and forwards in time at the same time. Let's pretend for a moment that those things are possible for beings who exist in a higher paradigm. Well, what does our world look like to them? Does it look like a round ball? Maybe it does. Maybe they can come down into the round ball. Like maybe it's actually like they can observe the earth flat and then they can come into the round paradigm.
This vaguely circular shape, let's just call it a circle for the sake of simplicity, may not look like a circle if you look at it from this angle. But you know what? That doesn't change the fact that what I drew on the piece of paper is actually a circle. It doesn't matter that you are looking at a two-dimensional shape from a three-dimensional perspective. What's on this piece of paper is a circle. It doesn't matter how you look at it. That is an empirical fact. Even if it doesn't look like a circle to you, it is one.
I see so many comments of people getting into fights on spirit science and on the internet in general about how the earth is flat or the earth is round, and everybody who disagrees with me is stupid. And that's like the basis of every God-blessed argument I find. And it's frustrating because where is the room for creative discussion and interpretation?
In the liberal arts. Science is a lot like map making. The goal is to make a map that is practically useful in that you can actually navigate using it and get to wherever it is you want to go. If you can't do that, then it doesn't matter how good the map looks. It doesn't matter how aesthetically pleasing it is. If the map differs significantly from the place being mapped, to the point that it can't really be used to navigate, then guess what? It may be a wonderful work of art, but it's still a shit map.
That's really the bottom line here. Let's be creative. Let's interpret. Let's discuss. Let's stay open. And it's fine if we disagree. Like, someone made a funny comment and was like, the Earth is Merkaba shaped. And I was like, okay, that's actually both funny, it's true. And I also kind of disagree with it as like a physical thing. I think if we're looking at the Earth, it's far more likely that it's shaped like a ball than it is a star tetrahedron, you know?
Right, and it's the physical shape we're talking about. And we don't determine that by simply being creative and coming up with fun ideas. That's actually a great starting point. In science, creativity is incredibly useful, but it's a starting point and it's a tool to help you reach the destination. And ultimately, the test of whether you've reached the right destination, in this case, when we're talking about the shape of the Earth, is to look at the shape of the Earth.
But the energy of the Earth and the higher dimensions of it, absolutely. Right? So it's like, let's be open, let's be loving, let's be kind, and let's stop trying to just one-up each other by being right. It's not about being right. It's about whether or not we have the capacity to learn and live and love with each other over and over until we make life good for everyone.
Not if what we're looking for is a practically useful understanding of the reality we find ourselves in. And as we've established over and over again, you clearly are not. See ya.